Today with SASA, Saving Ancient Studies, and Ancient Rome Live at Save Rome. And we're going to be taking a look at this monument right here in the vicinity of the column of Trajan. So let's just get started here. Let's see if these guys. Hey, hello.
Hey there,
again.
Darius. How are you doing?
All right, great. It's a beautiful day. I was just at the beach and I came back. You brought me away from the beach. Totally worth it, and I'm happy to join you again. So, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Evan Bowers. I'm with SASA, Save Ancient Studies Alliance. Our goal is to reverse the downward trend in the study of ancient studies through collaboration, scholarship, and cooperation.
Excellent. And we are here with me. I'm Darius Arya. Obviously, I direct Ancient Rome Live in the American Institute for Roman Culture at Save Rome, and we love collaborating as well. And today we've decided we're going to be talking about the column of Trajan. So let's get to some of the basics, and then of course we can take a look at the surrounding circumstances as well. So we are in the area of the Forum of Trajan. These little stumps of columns belong to the Basilica Ulpia, which is the family name of Trajan. He built the last and the greatest forum in Rome. And we're actually doing a course that starts June 25th on engineering and architecture of Rome. So we're talking about stuff like this. And, this is just a series of reconstructed columns, but it was 3 times as long, going underneath this building here, going all the way up to the Victoriano monument. And it was very tall, the peak of the roof getting close to the full height of the column of Trajan. And I'll walk around here and zoom in a little bit. Column of Trajan, of course, is going to be celebrating the Victory 2 series of Dacian wars that conclude in 106. And we know that this forum, which includes the column, which includes the Basilica Ulpia, which includes behind it the big piazza and porticos, basically an area of 240 meters by about 170 meters. So it's in a gigantic area, the biggest forum. And you could say that this is arguably the most amazing thing in the forum space because, well, it's still standing when the forum is dedicated in January 112 to today. It's never been moved. It's never toppled over.
That's unreal.
Essentially, and again, chime in with questions, or if people are tapping in and asking questions, please feel free to ask details. But what essentially we're looking at is something like 29 blocks of stone cut out of marble, 8 for the base, 19 for the shaft, and then 2 at the top. So
I think everyone's first and primary question is, how did they use pulley systems to build such a thing? It looks very heavy.
Absolutely. So I think the largest, heaviest block, I believe, is upwards to about 70 tons is the estimate. The largest blocks the Romans ever lift will be over 100 tons. One's at a temple in Baalbek, and one is in the temple of Serapis on the Quirinal Hill. So essentially we have to imagine, and there are various hypotheses. A friend of mine is a great architectural historian. Lynn Lancaster has some great publications. What she hypothesizes, and then there have been other ones. There was a great little conference, an exhibition in the Uffizi some months ago where a bunch of Italian archaeologists and architects were talking about this. But essentially you have to imagine lifting the drums with multiple cranes, with capstans, pulling in the ropes, in muscle power, draft animals, humans, slaves or military or whatnot. And then you're lifting up a block, but then you've also got to set it in place.
Yeah.
And you have to imagine each block, the way it works for even, just imagine a simpler thing like just a normal series of drums for a column in the Parthenon in Athens. You lift them up, they're roughed out. So they've got to be level on the top and they have to be leveled on the bottom. And you're going to fit them in place with a metal pin that you then cover with lead so it's waterproof. Same thing goes on here. And you can see right there, that's not a window, but that's actually where one of the pins has been robbed out. So you lift them in place, but then subsequently you will be carving 2,600 figures. So the figure carving comes afterwards. But the main thing is you're lifting these guys into place. We have to imagine each one of them. You can even see some of the joins here
And
right
this is
there.
all a narrative all the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
up.
So the narrative, so the engineering comes first. The narrative obviously is going to come second. And you can see some of these horizontal lines. This is a maximum I can zoom in, but you can maybe see they're kind of hidden away by all the details. But there's one, and
Hmm.
there's another kind of
Oh,
cutting
that's
across
great.
some of the tails right by the feet here, right by where the hole has been robbed out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the idea is first you're stacking them up so they have a nice kind of curve on the exterior called entasis, which gives it a more shapely kind of cigar shape. So it's
Hmm.
kind of bulges in the middle, and then subsequently you'll be carving away more details to then obviously put in all these 2,600 figures. But the basic idea is simultaneously as you're lifting these guys in place, you've carved out parts of a spiral staircase going all the way to the top. So you're reducing also some of the weight before you lift them in place because you've carved out those stairs is the idea. So
Okay.
you can walk all the way to the top. I think I have a video somewhere, or I need to put one up on Ancient Rome Live. But you enter over here in the door, which is also where you're going to have the urns of eventually deified Trajan and his wife Plotina. And this victory monument is also becoming a sacred monument. And of course, spiraling up, you got the narrative of the battles one, and then there would be Trajan at the top. Today, of course, it's lost in the Middle Ages, melted down, and then this is a replacement,
Uh,
which is Peter. So Peter is on this one, and Paul is on the Marcus Aurelius column.
so just to clarify, you said Trajan would have been in the bottom of this,
Yes,
buried, almost like a
yeah,
mausoleum.
definitely. This becomes his tomb. And so the
Oh,
question is,
wow.
was it a secondary act, or was it
Hmm.
always planned? But we do know that column right there, which is massive, and the capital that's right over here. Although some scholars want to argue that it's for a kind of a propylaeon, a kind of an entry gateway. More of the argument, since under here they've discovered a large podium, it probably could pertain to a massive temple of
Hmm.
deified Trajan. So what's more fitting than having his tomb right there as well? And we're told that it's a special dispensation because you can't be buried inside the sacred boundaries of the city without special permission, and that's what happens to Trajan. That wasn't always the plan, or was it a
Hmm.
secondary plan? That's the kind of the big question.
And archaeological digs are still happening in this area for this
Absolutely,
column, you
absolutely.
said?
No, so some of the digs have gone over here toward opening up
Okay.
more of the area of the piazza. We can kind of conclude looking over there, but let's get a little closer. We're looking at all kinds of spoils of war, the weaponry of the captured people. So that's a nice basis or foundation for your column. But essentially,
Yeah.
these things existed already in the Greek world and other civilizations. You're just elevating the statue of the guy who's the victor. You go to Delphi, you're all over
Yeah.
the Mediterranean and see this, and the Romans pick it up and go with it. And of course, this is the one. This is the one that number one gets copied for the Germanic Wars by Marcus Aurelius down the street from here. But then you see it,
Oh, yeah.
column of Theodosius, and Constantine. You're seeing it replicated in Constantinople. Then you're seeing it in, I don't know, Napoleon, and you've got it in Paris, you've got it in London. I mean, it's just a great idea. And this kind
Yeah.
of narrative is not just something exceptional when we look at the craftsmanship here, but it is also the best document we have for how the Romans waged war in antiquity. So it's also, it was painted, it was more legible than it is
Hmm.
today, but the narration was very hard and obscured because on either side here you had libraries as the interpretation left and right. And of course you had the basilica over there, and then you'd have the temple over here. There's very little
Hmm.
opportunity to walk around. You didn't have binoculars back then. So we can admire it more now than they ever could in antiquity. So it seems that it's really almost like an art for art's sake, but also you had the book version, but also, it's just, I can have such a lavish display of something that, well, everyone knows what's on that, but can't even really see it, So you've got a lot of different things going on here because it's all about glorifying the guy at the top who
Oh,
was
yeah.
an antiquity Trajan.
I had no idea that there were stairs on the inside that you could actually go up.
Oh yeah, but look at this detail here. I'm just kind of zooming in, and what
Oh,
you
yeah.
get is, I think you know several hundred figures. I mean, 2,600 figures, but several hundred scenes thereabouts, maybe 155 or 200 or something like
Hmm.
that. But basically, they are very repetitive. A sacrifice, burning of
Yeah.
a village, foraging for food, building the ramparts.
Hmm.
Burning. Sacrifice in front of a temple, and so on. So you get great, great examples of, and then also everything's accurate. The armor is accurate, both of the Romans, and then of course how the Dacians are fighting. So there's just so many amazing details that allow this to remain still today to be this precious document of history.
It's fascinating because a lot of Roman emperors write down, 2 times consul or
Mm-hmm.
their accomplishments, but this one you actually have a visual journey of his accomplishments that
Right.
Trajan had put up.
Yeah. So you want to put this in that realm of discussion of the lost triumphal paintings and some of the triumphal arches that we have and those kind of
Exactly.
historical narrative friezes that exist, oftentimes just snapshots, sometimes just single panels. The continual
Hmm.
narrative is just so fascinating as one seed bleeds into another, and you've got the ground level here and so forth that kind of wavers as you go up or down because they're kind of carving it right on the fly. They've got cartoons, they've got some sort of draft outline, but there seems to be a lot of freedom to improvise. There are holes sometimes for weaponry and implements, but sometimes it looks like they're holding something, but there's no hole for it. So it was obviously done pretty quickly. But how fast can you move? And of course, you're carving it as you go all the way up. So it's not like
Yeah.
one team's not up there and another team's down here. You're starting at the beginning, and you're winding your way and carving. So think about this like just the facades of sarcophagus, of the second century, and it's just a lot, as you're kind of progressing up and up and up and up and up. And then when you get to
Yeah.
the top, they kind of got extra room, so they kind of like make that last tall one a little more legible. But they've got some issues. There are lots of different discrepancies in the construction and the carving here. So
Yeah.
lots of great scholarship on that.
And at the bottom there, was there an inscription?
The inscription's on the other side, but we can't. Let's see if we can get a little
Better
bit of a
look at
view.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, in the distance is the Victoriano, which is a celebratory monument for the unification of Italy.
Yeah.
In 1870, it gets completed basically in the fascist era, and it's associated forever then with Mussolini. But all around here, you can excavate everywhere and unearth more. But right now, the big issue is the preservation. Okay, the inscription's right down here. We're not going to get a really good view of it. It's right
Oh,
here.
oh yeah,
And,
you can see
and,
it.
and so that little arrow or that triangle there carved into it, there was some sort of a roof. People were coming here as tourists, even in the 4th and 5th centuries, to go up to get a great view.
Oh,
And you have the inscription, which basically details that also this structure itself, as large as it is a marker to remember the immensity of the act in creating this space. So the idea is there was a ridge, a very tall ridge. We know this geologically, from observation of the area. So from the Quirinal Hill across to the Palatine Hill, the Capitoline Hill right here, the Capitoline Hill, there always was a ridge until it was cleared out by Trajan to make his large forum. The project was already started in the distance by Domitian, and then it's concluded by Trajan. So this was a big, land clearing project as well.
it seems that the door really gives it scale to how big it is on the bottom.
Yeah. So you say it's like 144 Roman feet, something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh. And this forum essentially stretches all the way down to the Colosseum and then over a little bit, or how
No,
far does Trajan's Forum go?
Trajan's Forum's only a couple hundred meters, but it's the biggest
Yeah.
forum. So I'm walking over to give you a view then of Trajan's Markets, which is a separate structure against the
Okay.
side of the Quirinal Hill. And then
Beautiful.
once you get that loggia right there, is the House of the Knights of Malta with a Renaissance loggia right there. That's sitting on top of part of the firewall of the Forum of Augustus. So that's just behind the Forum of Augustus. I can see way in the distance Basilica Maxentius, right?
Okay.
So I'm just kind of going to just give you this view of, here's part of a recent excavation just in the past 18 months, which has cleared out part of a street right here.
Oh yeah.
And they want to join then the area of Markets of Trajan as one structure, and all of this represents the Forum of Trajan Piazza. And of course, all those little remains of various housing, and there's part of a church and a monastery in the vicinity. It's tied with the Knights of Malta. That was plopped right down onto the original pavement. But where's the marble pavement? We don't have it. These are the outlines of the pavers that have all been robbed out that were of marble.
So would this have been part of a market for Trajans Forum or
This
temples?
is really a showcase center. This is really a place all surrounded by porticos, and
Okay.
it really is a place to just celebrate the greatness of this emperor and his
Hmm.
achievements. There's the setting sun.
Oh,
Got
wow,
some,
that's a shot.
yeah. And here's a kind of a view of the column itself with Trajan on it.
Ah,
Here's the
Roman
column
coin.
itself in a very closed, context. So there's the basilica. There's what would be the temple over here, and two libraries, we think. And here's a kind of a
Okay.
cutaway. Here's a cutaway then. The cenotaphs, right? The urns are placed here, and you go up and up and up and up and up,
There's the stairway you were
all the way
talking
to the
about.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a nice cutaway here, and it is a gorgeous view when we take it all together.
Oh, yeah. The birthday cake building off to the left is
Yeah.
is fascinating.
Wedding cake.
Yeah, the wedding
So
cake building.
so let's wrap it up here. This is Darius Arya, Ancient Rome Live. We have a course that's kicking off on June 25th. It's online. You can take the course whenever you want. It's architecture, it's engineering, it's how do they build things like this. And of course, we have all of the free videos on our YouTube site, which is youtube.com/WeDigRome. At Save Rome is all of our our personality on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and so forth. And then I direct it. We have a great team, a lot of volunteers, and we like to make partnerships with groups like SASA. And again, who is SASA?
SASA is a Save Ancient Studies Alliance. We mainly focus on correcting the downward trend in the study of ancient studies in North America through collaboration and research. And we are very glad to partner with you and take us on a tour of Rome vicariously.
Anytime. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
I'm glad to share the beauty of this amazing city, historic city, which is always engaging, and that's what the ancient studies is all about. It always has something to offer, and that's never going to change.
Mhm.
And we just need more collaboration of people from diverse backgrounds and interests to further those studies, and we don't have to all
Absolutely.
be professionals in it, but we can contribute in our own ways and lead other people to really get interested.
Mhm. Exactly. Darius, thanks again.
Yeah.
It's been a
My
pleasure.
pleasure. And we're going to do this again in, I don't know when we're going to do it. We have something. We're going to do it again. Right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll figure
Okay.
out the place. Exactly.
Okay. Well, it will be another place somewhere here, okay? Somewhere in the vicinity.
Yeah,
All right. You guys take care.
exactly. Thank you. Bye-bye.